Let's install Microsoft Windows Server 2012 R2. So in this video, install Microsoft Windows Server 2012 R2. We will go through the minimum system requirements before we can install this operating system in our computer. We will go through the number of Server 2012 R2 editions, and we will perform the installation of Microsoft Windows Server 2012 R2. At the minimum, you will require a processor of 1.4 gigahertz, 64-bit architecture. You also need 512 MB of RAM, and you will need at least a disk space of 32 GB and a display that supports at least Super VGA. Of course, you will require more resources like better processor, higher RAM, and more disk space, especially when you install more server roles and features. Windows Server 2012 R2 is the 7th version of the Windows Server operating system by Microsoft. It was officially released on the public on October 2013. For the various editions, first we have Windows Server 2012 R2 Foundation. It has a limit of a maximum 15 number of users, only one x64 processor socket, and a maximum of 32 GB of RAM only. It can have an Active Directory Domain Services role, but the RODC or Read-Only Domain Controller role is not supported. Other server roles like DHCP and DNS are also supported. Next is Windows Server 2012 R2 Essentials. So it has more number of users, that is 25. There are two 64-bit processor sockets that is now supported and 64 GB of RAM. Most server roles are supported except Active Directory Domain Services is now required to be installed with this edition. Next we have Windows Server 2012 R2 Standard. This time there is no hard limit on the number of users, but will be based on the client access licenses. It can support 64 processor sockets and 4 terabytes of RAM. A standard edition is meant for lightly virtualized environment, so it is entitled up to 2 virtual operating system environments on up to 2 processors. But for a data center edition, you can have unlimited number of virtual operating system environments, so that is the edition needed if you intend to have a highly virtualized private cloud. Also, in the 2012 R2 product family, you'll have Hyper-V Server, Storage Server Workgroup, and Storage Server Standard. There are various installation types. So you have optical media, the traditional method of deployment. You have the USB media. So it is easier now to create bootable USB flash drives. You have mounted ISO, network share, Windows deployment services, System Center Configuration Manager, and Virtual Machine Manager templates. So in my case, I'm using Oracle VirtualBox, and I have a new VM I called Windows 2012 R2. And for the ISO, so I pointed as an optical drive an ISO file. So this will be the first boot during the installation. Let me power the new virtual machine. So I double click this virtual machine and it should load or it should boot to the optical drive first, and it should read the ISO file which contains the Windows Server 2012 R2. And here it is, it's booting up, and we should begin installation in a moment. So for language to install, so I'm okay with English, United States. Time and currency format, I will still be okay with English United States. Keyboard or input method, so you have some options here, but let's select United States or US, and we will click next. So either you repair your computer or you repair your installation on Windows Server 2012, or we will install. In our demonstration, we will install now. And as you can see, the setup is starting. As noted, there are two installation modes. So either you have a server with a graphical user interface or a server with only server core installation. So in our demonstration, we will select the Windows Server 2012 R2 standard server with a GUI, and we will click next. Okay, so next will be the license terms. So you have to accept the license terms for you to proceed to the installation. So you will click the I accept the license terms checkbox and click next. So you have two installation options. So you have upgrade and custom. So an upgrade preserves the files, settings, and applications that are installed already on the original server. So you perform an upgrade when you want to keep all of these items and want to continue to use the same server hardware. You can only upgrade to an equivalent or newer edition of Windows Server 2012 from x64 versions of Windows Server 2008. You can also upgrade from Windows Server 2012 to Windows Server 2012 R2. You can launch an upgrade by running setup.exe from within the original Windows Server operating system. Custom or fresh installation enables you to perform a fresh install on a new disk or volume. So fresh installations are the most frequently used and take the shortest amount of time to complete. You can also use this option to configure Windows Server 2012 to perform a dual boot if you want to keep the existing operating system. So we will select this option since in our case we have a blank or a practically new or fresh virtual machine. Okay, so once we select the custom installation, we will now then be asked to where to install our Windows operating system. And since in our case, this is just a test virtual machine and we have only a single virtual disk, just nice to install Windows Server 2012 R2 operating system, so we will just select this disk and click next. So by clicking next commences the installation. So as you can see, the installation copies the Windows files and ready the files for installation. After that, it will install features, it will install the necessary updates, and will finish up. So it might take some time, so I will pause this video and we will show you what's after this installation. So we are almost done. So all we need to do is to supply a password. So we have some accessibility options here that you can perhaps turn on if needed. So there is already a username administrator, and we need to supply a new password and re-enter that password. So since this is for our server, best practice for security and for password, so our password should meet the complexity requirements. So that is, it should have a combination of a capital letter, a small letter, a number, and a symbol. And it should have at least a number of characters in it. So for our password, since this is a test installation only, so we will just have capital P A dollar sign small letter W or 0 RD. So we have capital P A dollar sign W 0 RD. So let me show you the password. So capital P, small letter A dollar sign small letter W 0 RD. So it should match with the password inputted first. So let's click finish. That's it. The installation is done, and all we need to do is to sign in by pressing Ctrl Alt Delete to verify the installation. So I'm now typing the password that we have set. So let's review. Okay, all is good, and we hit the enter, and here you go. We have now a fresh Windows Server 2012 R2 installation. So we now have the beautiful server manager, and if we want to verify, so this is Windows Server 2012 R2 standard installation. As a summary, in this video, install Microsoft Windows Server 2012 R2. So we have discussed the minimum system requirements, the various edition in the 2012 R2 product family, and we demo on how to install Windows Server 2012 R2 along with a quick discussion on the installation options. Thank you for watching.